Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm so excited for today's Facebook Live. But first off, if you're coming on watching me live, please say hello. Let me know where you're coming in from. If you're watching the replays, please let me know. So I'm going to dive right in. I have a lot I want to teach today, and this is such important work because truly this is the number one thing that I see my clients struggling with, and it keeps people stuck. But yet it's so simple when you're it's so simple, yet when you're in it, it's so hard. So I want to start really, hey Mandy, so great to see you. So let's talk about why this topic came to head for me. So last week, actually earlier this week, I was on the call with one of my clients and we were talking about the thoughts that led her to binge. So when I'm coaching with somebody, we're always looking at how do they get to the place where they're binging, and we're exploring the thoughts that led them there, because our thoughts create our feelings and then our feelings create our actions. So I had her list all of the thoughts that she had thought to get to these line of events from where she wanted the food to where she actually gave into the food. But before I go into the actual thoughts, I want to explain the difference between thoughts, beliefs, and identity. So on the big picture of who we are is our identity. It's automatic. It's how we see ourselves in the world. So if you're on this call, you probably identify yourself as being a binger or maybe a yo-yo dieter, but you see yourself as somebody that struggles with food. That is identity. This is high level. Then below identity, there's a bunch of beliefs that create that identity. And the beliefs that fall into all or nothing thinking, generally people will have thoughts like, I don't trust myself around food. You think there's a right and wrong way. You think, hey, Kelly, there are things that are good and bad. You have these extremes. And so your belief system about food and how you look at food is in these polarities, like of good and bad, right or wrong. You're on the diet or off the diet, on the wagon, off the wagon. So how you see your food is through that filter of your belief systems. And then it's the specific thoughts that create those belief systems. So the thoughts that people use when they're in all or nothing thinking are thoughts like, I can't have that, or hey Lauren. Yeah, if you guys, I'm seeing lots of people coming on. So if you're coming on now, say hi and let me know where you guys are calling from. It's so good to see you again, Lauren, today. And you want it, so the thoughts that we're looking at is I can't have that. Maybe I'll just have one bite, or I already blew it. I might as eat what I want, or I'll start Monday, or I'll start next week. It's that kind of thinking that puts you in this all or nothing place, that things are good and bad. And then what happens is it's like a pendulum and it swings back and forth and you end up in that habit. And it's so important to know that this is habitual, this kind of thinking. This is deeply ingrained. And so first you have to realize that, hey, yeah, I am one of those people that I identify with these all or nothing thinking thoughts. There's nothing wrong with that. The very first thing that you want to do is realize that you think all or nothing and just claim it. The next step is that we need to use your prefrontal cortex to outsmart that part of your brain that is the habit with food. Because if you just leave it up to how it is, then you're going to go back to that normal way of thinking, which is that all or nothing thinking. So what you have to do is you have to pre-plan your thoughts and call it out. And what's going to happen is that those thoughts are going to come up, those all or nothing thinking is going to come up, but it's your job to be like, oh, I noticed you thought, I'm not going to go there. And how you get out of all or nothing thinking is you just don't give yourself permission to buy into those beliefs. Now, I know this because every single time I'm on a client call and we go down this line of thinking, it's always the same. So our brain has a way to where we try to, what I call delusional negotiation, okay? Where when you get in that battle or when you give yourself a choice to either eat it or not, you're in this battle. And how many, I'd love to know in the comments, how many of you guys go into those situations where you open up just a little bit of doubt and be like, should I eat it? Should I not? And then you start making maybe excuses or using thoughts, well, just this one time, or I will have it now and then I'll get back on the wagon tomorrow. When you use that kind of thinking, you're giving yourself permission. And I also like to call this delusional negotiation with ourselves. And we're going against our words. And this is where we're falling into that place where we're not trusting ourselves with food. So it's so important that we just call it what it is. And we just decide that we're not going to go into that. We don't give ourselves permission. Now, this is high level stuff that I'm going through. This awareness and being intentional with our thoughts take time, and over time with intentional practice you make that shift. This isn't something that's overnight, but this is where it starts, is having this awareness, recognizing that we identify with this, realizing we don't want to be stuck anymore, and that there is a way out, and that's just something that we choose to believe. Now, the last thought before I get off is, we all have friends, or we all know people who don't have issues with food. They don't binge with food. They don't, yes, go down the rabbit hole all the time. That's right, Lauren. It's like no big deal with food. You can actually train your brain to think like your friend that doesn't have any food drama. It's a choice that you're making, and it's a belief system that's developed over time. So you just need to unwire it. So that's the how in a big eggshell. Actually applying it is a much deeper work. And if you're interested in actually diving in and wanting to do this work on a deeper level, I want to offer you guys a chance to get on a call with me, and I will help you with finding your all or nothing thinking and give you some strategies and some tools, because this is really individual work on our belief systems, but it's also completely freeing. And this work, like these small little shifts over time, is what's going to completely free you from it. So when you can get out of that all or nothing thinking, and instead you build trust with yourself, and that's what this is all about. It's a lack of trust, and instead you change the way you think about the food. It's pure freedom. So I hope that you learned something from this. I hope you realize that you can always change your thinking. You don't have to buy into those stories. Do not allow yourself to go into that delusional thinking. And then also know that it's a habit, and that you can just have to unlearn it. So there's nothing wrong with you, and I hope that this helps. So have a good one, everybody, and I will be back next Wednesday with a new topic, and it's all going to be about how we empower ourselves to make better choices. So I'll see you next week.